You've got my head spinning. This is fascinating. So I guess how does your product sort of um how does your product play into this?
Yeah.
Just
So
answer, does it answer the phone?
it is. So I think, it's pretty simple at the end of the day, right? It's like AI doesn't sleep, doesn't get sick, doesn't go on vacation. And it's now at a point where it is capable of knowing your SOPs, knowing your company preferences, knowing
Okay.
information, right? And we are now working on also things like all of the integrations that allow us to then funnel things into workflows, funnel things to the right person or personnel as well. So 24/7 coverage.
Matt Speer here with propertymanagement.com. We have a really special guest today. We have Lindsay Liu from Super. Lindsay, have you been to New Orleans before? Is this your first time?
I have been to New Orleans once before for another conference.
Okay. So have you experienced any of the kind of touristy stuff, or has it mostly been kind of the work bubble?
A little bit of like convention center stuff, and then we did do Bourbon Street
Okay.
that one time. So I was
Yeah.
like, I don't need to do that again.
Have you had the beignets or I think that's what they're
Yes,
called,
there's
right?
the one place I forget with the Vietnamese
Yeah.
coffee and the
Yep. Yep.
beignets. We did that. Yep, yep.
What do you think? I feel like it was just like a donut with some powdered sugar. It was really good, but it was
I mean, if
like
you're like me and you like your donuts, then
yeah, it was like a funnel cake. Yeah,
yeah,
it
it's a
was
little
pretty good.
sweeter.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about your background. I always, talk about how in this industry nobody grows up as like a 5-year-old and is like, I want to be in the property management industry. And so I'd love to hear just a little bit about your story of how you got here.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, whole career has been in tech. So, working at tech companies, at startups, on the agency kind of world, kind of building products for other companies. But I've been investing in real estate. As it started very casually, and then kind of became like a serious side hobby.
Yeah.
Since I want to say like 2011 was the first one, and kind of now I'm very unfocused, is what I like to say.
Yeah.
Small multifamily, single family, short term rental, larger multifamily, manufactured housing, and
Yeah.
commercial.
Pretty much
Yeah,
everything.
kind of
Like
touching it
almost
all.
like every vertical. Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say I've always been very, very bullish on real estate as an asset class. I think anyone that ends up being an entrepreneur, I joke that we probably are control freaks in a
Hmm.
certain set of ways, and real estate lets you do that. You get to have a lot more fine grained control over the investment versus just throwing it into the S&P 500.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, and the people that say like real estate investing's passive, it's like you get on Twitter or something and it's like, all the Twitter bros talking about passive income, real estate. It definitely isn't passive, but yeah, a lot more control over the return than just dropping in the S&P 500. But yeah, I mean, has that real estate experience helped you with what you're up to with Super?
Yeah.
What was kind of the origin story of your initial, technology background, a little bit of real estate investing? And it's like, what was that spark that said, hey, I need to go start this super exciting company?
Yeah, so the initial spark was actually I started investing in HOA. So we'd buy condo units, we'd rehab them, and then eventually flip them. And as part of that, I ended up on the board of those condos. Like, this
That's a lot.
cannot be how a building is managed and functions. And obviously, HOA is a very specific type of management where, it's like you're not even just dealing with a property manager, you're dealing with 5 to 7 board members.
Right.
It's a volunteer job, right? They've all got usually day jobs or they're retired, and it's the one thing that they do for better or for worse. And so that was kind of the initial spark for what is happening with this property management industry, and
Right.
why is communication so hard? And I used to kind of, as reference, share with kind of my product team, kind of like, here's examples of email threads that we'd have as a board, like 120 emails deep. And at the end of it, like the last one before I left one of the buildings I was on the board of, the last one was me writing, did anyone actually schedule this? No response.
And it's all, I feel like the HOA emails, I've had a condo in like West Panama City Beach near 30A where we now have got a spot there. But man, the email, it's like when it's like actually something that matters, it's like the most detailed, like it's like a novel, and you're like, where's the action here?
When it's
And
all
then
through AI, you
ironically,
gotta read the whole
oh my
thing,
gosh, it's
and
like
then someone will go on a tangent. That's the worst part,
I feel
right?
like it's at least in this condo, it was in Florida, like kind of a vacation destination, but it was like a lot of people that seemed to be really, really smart but retired
That's
and
why I
like
say for
old
better or for
school. Oh
worse.
my goodness! And then it's ironically the question that's like the action, simple one sentence question. It's like nothing happens. You're like
Nothing happened, yeah.
it's chaos.
So
So
so that was kind of the initial spark was like, "Man, this feels like this could be better,"
right,
obviously, and so, my co-founder, Vika, and myself, we've always been very focused on communication as our hypothesis has really been that in property management, so much of where things fall down is in the communication side of things.
right,
Under communicating, right? Not answering. If you look at I joke and you'll probably be able to pull some stats on this yourself, but I joke that if you look at a property management company's Google reviews, every 1-star review, like I will put money down that the review is because they were unresponsive.
yeah, to someone, yeah,
Yeah, you didn't answer my call, and sometimes that'll be like a leasing prospect writing you a 1-star review, being like, "They never responded to my application. I paid $40. Like this is a
yeah, yeah.
hoax."
You see that a lot. Yeah,
Right.
it's like they're just after my $40, which ancillary revenue, but it was probably responsiveness. Yeah,
Yes, it just comes down to a very simple thing. And so Super really grew out of that hypothesis. And obviously, from a timing perspective, we really started focusing on being the player that was going to win on voice in 2024. A couple years ago, we had another hypothesis is voice is probably the interface that people want to interact with
yeah,
from a communication
yeah.
perspective. This is an industry where you cannot just put a chatbot on your website and say that's customer support.
Right.
So we went
You
all
always want to
in.
talk to a person. You're like, can
Yeah.
I talk to a person?
I want to talk to a person, or I'm having an actual emergency and I need a way to reach you. Right. And so, or I need to escalate something because you haven't responded to my 30 email.
Yeah.
Now I need a way to reach you. So I think that we feel strong conviction, and I think now validated by the kind of growth that we've seen with customers. Answering the phone is super low hanging fruit that people are not doing a good job with
Right.
today. So from a table stakes perspective, it's just it's something you're missing out on. You don't know what that call is, whether that's an emergency or a new owner, right?
And we have some very compelling data to get into here in a little bit about that.
Drum
Like
roll for that.
how bad is the problem? Honestly, some wow mind blown moments for me reading through some of this. So I'm excited to get into the data. Do you feel like I guess going from point A to point B was super. Like how long did it take you to get to that? Hey, this is the solution. And is it as simple as that? Is it like, hey, people don't answer the phone, that problem needs to be solved?
Yes, winding back in time, right, so 2023 to 2024, I feel like the only way you could really think about interfacing with technology was through some sort of application interface, right?
Yep.
You download an app or you go to a website, you log in, that's kind of how you interface
Yep.
with it. And so that's what we had been building was communication centralization tools for that. And
Like
when
software.
software,
Yeah.
traditional SaaS.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And when we took a step back and said, well, what could we do with the fact that these LLMs allow us now to have conversational interfaces, truly conversational interfaces as well,
Yeah.
not like
Like
a
it
flow chart
early, it
kind
was
of.
kind of bad. And then
Yes.
like it was like ramping up. Like
Yeah.
people even just doing the chat GBT talk thing.
And
Yeah.
people do that. You see that they're just talking to
I do it on my
ChatGPT.
walks. I think the people in my neighborhood think I'm like a weirdo, but like I do it a lot.
Well, now they know
My
why you're
AI
doing it.
strategy, they're
Yeah.
like, is he talking to a real person? He's probably talking to ChatGPT, but it's actually Claude now. So anyway,
That's also, I mean, that's probably something to touch on as well, just how quickly the landscape can change, right? Like 3 months ago, it was
yeah.
ChatGPT,
I
ChatGPT,
went ChatGPT,
ChatGPT.
Gemini to Claude. I had like a
Well,
little
you took a little
little
detour.
Gemini detour, which anyway, yeah, I'm sure we could talk a lot about that.
So, I think when we decided to really focus on solving this problem, we were able to take a step back and say, what does AI allow for us to be able to do from a interface perspective in order to solve this problem? We're like, it's actually even simpler than that. The interface is the language. It's
Yep.
us talking. It's the
Yep.
simplest thing. Nobody needs to know. Go click there, log into that, reset your password.
Yep. That's
Right.
right.
And so that has been, I think, the core thing that we've really been focusing on is solve that problem really well. We chose voice specifically also because it's a harder problem to
Right.
solve.
Yep. Just technically more
Yep,
difficult.
it's
Yep.
just there's a lot more variables that go into it with chat, for instance, even just thinking about multilingual for a written interface, pretty easy to be able to say, "Ah, okay, now you're writing in Spanish,"
Mm.
right? Or, "Oh, this is French," because I'm able to look at a whole word or a whole phrase for
Right.
that. When it comes to voice, you're now dealing with background noise, you're dealing with how do I not interrupt the person in the middle of their speech? I'm dealing with accents, right?
Or like I just did that too. Like I'm interrupting, but it's like we're
In an
it's in
exchange.
a human. It's like almost like a dance, right? Like an AI doesn't know how to dance.
Not
It's
yet.
just
Yeah.
seen people dance and is
Mhm.
like, I think this is the step, right?
Yes, correct. So it's a super interesting problem space. I think that's kind of what really compelled us to it is not only does it feel like one of the most natural interfaces and the one that we're failing the like the most on,
Right.
but also it's really really hard and therefore that makes it a really differentiated space
Right.
to jump into.
Well, let's talk a bit about the data. So I'll let you take the lead on it, and then I'll share some of my thoughts. But yeah, I'm looking at this. So you did secret shopping, which is
Yes.
fascinating. So maybe give a quick little intro into like what prompted your team to even have the idea to do the secret shopping and what that meant.
Yeah. So secret shopping, I think in like for instance in retail or e-commerce, right? That's like pretending to be a shopper
Yep.
somewhere and getting the insights on like what was the customer experience like for that. And the spark for that was we had a new sales team member join and he was like, "Man, I can't get anyone on the phone." He's like trying to cold call, right? And he's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"I
Yeah.
can't get anyone." And I was like, "Use that. Send that property management company owner an email saying I could have been a new lead and you missed me."
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh."
That's so genius. Yeah. What was your salesperson's response to that? Were they like,
He was
"Huh,
like,
that could
"Yeah."
work"?
And he's like, "All right." So we kind of worked on that. And he's like, "I'm getting responses to that." So we
Like
started.
how many were the email, like, cause that, this data we'll get into is
Yeah.
shocking, right?
Yeah.
So was that the email response sort of like, hey,
I think in some cases, what's even worse is people kind of knew.
mm,
And they were like, "Yep,
oh,
we
they're
know it's a
right.
problem. Yeah. Oh, you found it."
Yeah, yeah, you
Ah, you caught me, right? So some people I think don't know the extent. I think some people are vaguely aware, and that's something that we find across the board with our customers when they're first coming on is they're usually aware that they could be doing better. Most of them have never gone into their VoIP system and actually downloaded the data
Yep.
and actually analyzed it. So we have a little analyzer tool. I'm like, just send me your phone logs and let me run it for you. Like, let me give you
Yeah.
knowledge at
Yeah, yeah,
least
yeah, yeah.
on it. And it's usually, we will say, we find that it's 50 to 60% of calls are not answered. And so the data here, I can kind of share how that backs
Yeah,
that up
yeah, please do.
as well. So we shopped 100 companies that were attending NARPM broker owners. So we got the list ahead of time. We were
Yep.
like, cool, here's a sample of companies that if they're in NARPM, they're attending this conference, they actually care about
Yep.
how to get better, right?
Yeah, and generally NARPM, I mean, more professionalized access to tools, best practices, right?
Community around it, right?
Right.
And so we were like,
And
this will be interesting.
did you remove any from the sample set, just in terms of the data integrity? Is this 100 companies and that was it? There's no cherry picking here.
No, so the only companies
I'm gonna ask the hard.
removed I
Yeah,
know, yeah,
yeah,
so look, I was a biological sciences major. I've done the studies, and the, only companies that we removed were customers that we knew were already using Super because we knew that that would skew
yeah.
data.
100. Everyone. It's like we'll get into the product a bit, but yeah.
Yeah, so we removed existing customers, and then we just chose a random sample of, 100 companies
Okay.
that were left,
Yeah.
on the list.
And what jumped out to you? What was the biggest one?
Whew,
I'm looking at the one that
yeah.
I would say, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the one for me that really got me was companies that were using some sort of phone tree or an IVR, right? So the press one, press two had the worst results. So
Okay.
if you are trying to automate that component through a phone tree, only 20% of those companies answered. So
So
one out
one
of
in
five.
five. One
One
out of
out of five.
five. And
We
these
got a
are
lot
all
worse.
NARPM
Mm-hmm.
broker owner.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's crazy.
And then in general, 51%, so just about one out of two, did not answer at all. So we either hit a voicemail or it was just ringing, 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 nowhere to go for it.
Okay, so then they all called back.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, like
Uh,
50% is really bad.
right. Yeah. So
Like
one company called back. 1%.
I mean, you got when you handed this to me, I'm like reviewing it, it's like, that's crazy.
Yeah. I'm not surprised
I mean,
by any of it
that's
though,
not even
right?
like a problem. That's like it's affecting everyone. Well, what is that like what's
Yeah.
worse than a problem? It's like everyone. It's
So
system
this is
wide.
table stakes, right? If
Yeah.
you look at 100, right, like that's a fairly large sample now. That is the standard
Well,
is today.
in your original, the reason why it all kicked off was your team was trying to prospect, right? Okay,
Yep.
so if you're a property manager and you're like, all right, we've got a really great cold call like blocking system.
Yes.
That's incredible. Like if you don't, I'm actually very pro cold call. I've done a lot of cold calls, but like I respect a company that says, hey, we're busy. I don't want to cold calls, but this is their main line.
Main
Like
line.
if you're a client and you're calling the same number that a cold caller's calling and like no one's answering, like that's bad.
And
What if
what
it's
is
a
it?
prospect? You ask a property
Yeah.
manager like, hey, what's your number one priority? They're like growth. Okay, well, step one, answer the phone. Like it's
And
crazy.
by the way, somebody that is calling your company is like the hottest lead you could be getting, right? That is
Yeah.
so high intent.
Well, and what do they do after the phone's not answered? They
Yeah.
call the next
They call the
company,
next company,
right?
whoever
And
answers
they're
first.
yeah.
So we're also at end of April right now. So this is like ramping up for the busy leasing season. And so the
Yep.
secret shopping was specifically to try to get to the
Okay.
leasing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So can I talk to somebody on leasing as if I were interested
Right.
in renting? And so this is probably like this should be the best it is because you're ramping up for
Yep.
that, but it's not quite super
Yep.
busy yet.
Yeah, I mean, let me give this sheet another
Yeah.
scan because honestly, about every single, I love the layout of this too because it's like literally every single thing I read. I'm just like, I could talk about it for like probably 20 minutes. So let's see, the 5 days leasing questions are best answered by email, voicemail. So see, these are the worst offenders. It's all bad, but it's like talk to me about the the worst offenders there. What were some of the things that stood out of like a problem's even worse?
So when I was analyzing basically the team had input all of this raw data, and so I was analyzing with Claude,
Yeah.
repeatedly getting office closures during what you would expect to be business hours, and we're calling during local business
Were
hours.
they like holidays? No holiday. So it's just like Tuesday at like 1 o'clock
at
or something.
2 p.m. We
Yeah.
had
Okay.
multiple.
So literally, you cited
Or Thursday,
2:26 p.m.
at 2 p.m. We had multiple at like between like 2 to 3 p.m. Office is closed right now. Leave a voicemail. If I am trying to, by the way, right, if I'm a prospect, whether that's a new owner or a new tenant, what does that telegraph to me? Y'all are not available.
Well, I'll be honest here.
working.
I mean, it's like this is propertymanagement.com. This is unfiltered podcast. As you know, we've talked about propertymanagement.com. Like our goal is to help the best property managers stand out. And we're doing that in like a very Carfax driven way, like objective data, like real, like if you're referring your friend or family member, like that's the company. If like you had all the data and information, right? And this has me like, I think this should be part of our scoring system. And I'm like really interested, like we're going to have a score update coming soon. And I almost want to like implement this in. It's like responsiveness to a general inquiry, which is really interesting. But yeah, you've got my head spinning. This is fascinating. So I guess how does your product how does your product play into this?
Yeah.
Just answer, does it answer the phone?
It is. So I think, it's pretty simple at the end of the day, right? It's like AI doesn't sleep, doesn't get sick, doesn't go on vacation. And it's now at a point where it is capable of knowing your SOPs, knowing your company preferences, knowing information, right? And we are now working on also things like all of the integrations that allow us to then funnel things into workflows, funnel things to the right person or personnel as well. So 24/7 coverage that is able to be your first line of defense. We have some people that use it as the second line of defense. So it's rollover, right? It's like after hours when somebody that is on my team can't answer, that's a preference there, but that works as well, right? Which is essentially making sure that you're not missing any of these, that it's not just hitting a voicemail box where, by the way, most people don't leave a voicemail as well.
Right.
So even if somebody is not able to answer,
they're silently disgruntled.
Yes, you are now at least getting the data on who called, what did they call about, and what was the point at which they needed something that you should call back for.
And so let's say I were to call a property manager that's currently using Speer. So I would, maybe I'm calling about, let's say I'm a client and I want to talk to my maintenance team. I've got an upcoming turnover. Maybe I got an email about a turn request or, scope. And I'm like, I've got a couple questions. I call the number. What happens?
Yeah.
Like just kind of walk me through it.
Yeah. So customers will set this up differently, right? So I would say a common path would be the first thing is instead of being hit with the minute long press 1, press
Right.
2, and then you're just pressing 0 or 9 because you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't want to listen to it.
This is unfiltered. So I'll say this. I was talking to somebody yesterday they said those phone systems, you can like, there's like a hack where you can just be like, fuck, 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 fuck. And it like immediately sends you to like the most escalated thing. Like some of the, I think they were talking like an airline, you do that.
Oh
Like if
my
you call an
gosh.
airline, you really want to actually talk to
It's
someone.
actually pretty
You
good.
literally, that's the hack maybe.
Android phones have what's called the anger shake. So the phone actually is registering on the remote that you're
Oh,
shaking it, and they're
wow.
like, "Are
That's
you really
interesting.
angry right now?"
That's interesting.
So it's like that. Uh, Typically, what it is instead of you having to sit through all of that, it's just how can I help you?
Yep.
Right? What do you need?
And this is an AI response. Hey,
Yep. So
just
hey,
like I'm talking to Claude or
a
something.
lot of
Yeah.
people name their AIs if they want to,
Yep.
right? So they can give it a name and they can say, "Hi, this is Sue with Super," right? How can I help you
Yep.
today? And if you're that owner, you could say, "I need to speak to maintenance." Right. Okay, great. What is your maintenance request about? So we can make it do more of that pre-qualification for you. So by the time it gets to a team member, again, even if they're not
Okay.
able to answer, that information is there.
So obvious first question. So you'd
hmm
already mentioned integration.
hmm
So is it going to be aware of, so I say, hey, yeah, I'm Matt Speer. I've got, 123 Main Street,
hmm
talking about the turn request. Like, can't, and let's say I use like Rent Binder app fully or something. Is it going to be able to go like go think about that? Because I feel like what I know about the models, the fast response is probably going to come from a lower grade model, and a really quality response would come from a higher grade model, but that takes more
More
time.
time.
But you're not going to sit there and wait for it for like 6 seconds to like tell you
Yeah,
the
so
right
that
answer.
is, and again, this is one of the reasons why voice is complicated, right? Because you do have to think through these moments here. It
Yeah, I'm
is,
like, that's a technical challenge.
yeah,
I'm like,
so there
okay,
is
you are a technologist though. So
there is a thing that you can implement with voice, which is called tool calling. So you can actually call out to a tool. You've probably seen it in Claude, right?
yeah,
If it's using a skill, it's like calling
yeah, it's
tools,
super
right?
fun.
Yep.
It's like seeing its brain work, right?
And it does take a little bit more time. You have to load up that data, or you have to go and do something with it. But tool calling is something that you can build in. And we have some UX patterns around this, some user experience patterns where essentially we have non LLM generated responses. So these are kind of like pre baked type responses that fill the silence while it's going to fetch information. So right now we do that for a few things. The primary one I will say that comes up for is leasing. Is 123 Main Street available?
Right.
Let me go look that up for you. I'm pulling all of my listing
So you're,
data.
so you put,
hmm
you pre-bake filler,
Yep,
which
exactly.
is sort of how the human brain works, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and you're like kind of seeing where the conversation's going, and then you have some aha moment,
Yes.
right? And
Yep.
that's like kind of the brain's like, oh, there's the actual like impactful thing, right?
Yeah. So that is one of that's I think a really common example. It's probably the most common one that we see. That's like, most call volume, especially on the leasing side, you can answer most of that with AI
Yeah,
as long as you give it that type of data.
yeah,
And so it's then going through and we're doing a match based on 123 Main Street. So we're actually able to filter against properties
okay,
in the database. And then we say, got it. I found a 123 Main Street. It's a 1 bedroom. It's awesome. It costs $2,300 a month. Would you like to learn more, or you want to book a showing?
yep.
So we kind of push to that next step there.
And so will it? What percentage of the time is it creating an outcome versus like delegating to a
hmm
human,
Yeah. So
like
the
a
breakdown
team
that
member?
we're seeing right now, and again, I think as we build more of these skills and tools, right,
Probably
that
more
it'll
outcome
probably,
based.
our goal is to continue to push this up. But right now, what we're seeing is roughly 34% of inquiries can be solved by AI.
Okay.
So no human needs to be involved in that, right? About a quarter of those inquiries require some sort of workflow that we're pushing it into. So it's a work order, it's a guest card, right? It's a email message that we're sending to the team. So we're able to take about a quarter of those and actually kind of push it to that next step there. And then about 40% of those are people that just need to talk to a team member. And I think our point of view on this is AI is not supposed to be in the middle of the human to
Yep.
human connection. It's supposed to be the fastest path to a resolution. So when you think of it that way, if it's an emergency, if it's a sales moment, you probably want to get that to a human right
Yep.
away. So can we be the best path for that? Because the other 60% of calls we've now taken off of your team's
Right.
load.
Well, and especially if, this is the alternative, this data, right? If you have a phone tree that it's not getting responsive, you're not answering the phone, and then you're not following up, it's like there'll be more competition, and I'm sure there already is competition in your category, right? But if you're not using this type of tool, I mean, this is sort of the state of the union here. And so I think that it's definitely a massive, it's almost like its own category of, it's sort of the disruption and the quality that can come from that, I think is clear. But we're also really early. I mean, so kind of
Hmm.
shifting gears a bit, just in terms of the industry as a whole, um, how far will this go? Right.
Look, I think some of the ideas that we have and the things that we're talking about on our roadmap, it's super exciting. What we're starting to lay the foundation for, that you're like, this is now possible. There are things that you
Yep.
just like couldn't dream were possible from a technology perspective. First off, like in a traditional engineering world, things were kind of binary, right? So it's
Right.
like even this idea of like, how do I know if it's what this topic is about? It used to be you'd have to use keywords and it has to match a keyword.
Right.
Right now, you can just have a general leasing is, and oh, okay, I understand that this is about leasing. It doesn't have to be
Right.
somebody saying rent or saying apartment rental,
Right.
right? Or something like that. So it's already getting to a point where we can dream in a very different way as far as what we're capable of building. So that's pretty exciting as the first thing. It's just a fundamental shift, I think.
Yeah.
The second thing that I think starts to become really interesting is we're in this era, in this moment right now where I think everyone's trying to figure out what is their role in the data layer for this, right?
Right.
And what data do I need? What data do I have uniquely? And how can that be applied in different places? And so I think some of the things that we're really excited is about, and I talk to my team about this all the time, is like our job is to be the invisible thread.
Mm.
I don't want someone to have to log in to something with Super to be able to do
Yeah.
something. Mhm.
Exactly. That resonates. If you're going into your call system to like analyze data with all the things going on in your day-to-day operating property management business, and you feel like you need to see that information, like things are wrong. You're like, wait, how many times did they call? Like, who was supposed to answer? Wait, who did that get sent to? Why did they not? Like, why were they out at
Mhm.
2 p.m. on a Tuesday? Or, why is it the settings, the office is closed on a day we're working? Like you said, table stake. It's like
Mhm.
all those things should just be happening. And if it's set up, it's like not thought about, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So where I see things getting really, really interesting is not just the cross pollination of this data to enable better outcomes, but also the way that we interface with
Mm,
that data. I mean, I think we're seeing a lot of general software tools, so less so in the property management space, but it's happening in other sectors, right? They're now on Claude's MCP, right?
yep,
And
that's
so
right.
I can connect my Gmail, I can connect my Asana, whatever it is that I'm using, Zapier,
And
into it.
and MCP is a
Model context protocol.
yeah. So
So
yeah,
go ahead.
how would you describe it? Yeah.
So I think about it as basically the ability to have a unified data layer so that data that you have living in other repositories, right, other systems,
Right.
you are now able to access
Yep.
that.
Yeah, and you can, so for a property manager, it's like, a lot of you are like, man, like, what is this crazy stuff they're talking about? But it's the way I like to think about it is you can centralize your data and you can connect it to Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini if, different LLMs like ChatGPT, Gemini have different access. Like they allow certain connectors, they don't allow others. But like for example, Claude, propertymanagement.com, we've built an internal MCP, and it's like I can talk to pretty much our whole CRM on my phone at any point in time. Like, and it just feels like the same magic you experience when you had that first like aha moment on Claude or ChatGPT, but now it has all of that data available,
Mhm.
but it's also secure, and you're not just like passing the API key into
Yep.
the
Yep. You have to authorize. And so, it gives you, it just unlocks these possibilities. And I
right.
think that what is happening is we're aligning around this vision, this hypothesis that we had early on, that there will be a universal interface and it is going to be natural language.
Yes.
And so as people that come from software backgrounds, and I'll tell you, like in my past life on the agency side, I was selling multi-million dollar app and website development jobs. That was my
Hmm.
job, was to go and tell a Google, an Amazon or whatever, like, yes, you need us to build this interface for you. And I just think that that's fundamentally changing,
Right.
and that everything kind of that we have known is changing overnight. And so as people in technology, the last thing that I'm going to do is dig in this old world, and I'm going to embrace this new world that's happening and really just lean into that and just, I think what I'll say is at Super, we're all in on what this means for the future. And we're trying to build as quickly as we can in a responsible way to it such that we can help actualize that for our customers.
Yeah. Last question. We got to get into the lightning round here a bit, but I'm curious why this technology could apply to like a lot of industries, right? And I think maybe you and I talked about this a little bit. It's like I think specialization really matters. It's like kind of this AI gold rush. It's a lot of people are going to solve really big problems. Make a lot of money along the way. A lot of opportunity, right? And so, why did you choose? Why did you choose this industry for this application?
Yeah. I think, again, this is one of the few industries where the phone is not going away, right? We've
Mm,
kind of seen it in a lot of other industries where they've been able to just kind of automate customer support away because they don't have emergencies. They don't have kind of relationship based communications that require that different touch.
right,
And so I think first off, it's a really ripe industry for this just because this problem is so prevalent. There are
right,
obviously other kind of adjacent sectors like service industries, right? HVAC,
right.
plumbing, right? That can benefit from this. But I think what's also really appealing about property management to that point about it being hard is property management is not just one thing. It is an amalgamation of different disciplines, right?
Yeah,
It's
it
like you're
is.
accounting, you're a maintenance
Yeah,
specialist.
you're running like 50 different, I always say it's like 50 simple processes usually.
Yes.
But when you attach them all together with like if then branches, it's
Yeah.
like very chaotic.
Yeah.
And then if you throw in like, we also run in-house maintenance and then we have a brokerage, it's like, whoa, now you're running like 3 businesses that are
Oh yeah.
interconnected. I said last question to lightning round, but I have one more. So do you feel like so 2 layers. One is, do you feel like people will eventually call a property manager and if they're using a product like Super, is there a time where they like won't know it's an AI? Or is it like you have to like disclose that I'm an AI or like, that's interesting to me because it's getting so good. It's like, do I care if it's an AI?
So I think there's kind of like a cultural, right, and behavioral shifts that are happening, and then there's obviously legislative, and we're kind of keeping an eye on
Yeah,
both of them. So, like,
like
actually,
disclosure or something.
there are
Yeah.
actual legal disclosures that at the federal level and also at state levels are rolling out. So the federal one is essentially you cannot actively deceive
Mm.
somebody that they are not talking to you.
You can't like trick them.
You
Yeah.
can't be like, "No, no, no, I am an AI,"
Yeah.
or "I am a human. What do you mean?" Right? So you
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
cannot do that. So
Yeah, get
we
that out of your prompt if you're
yeah,
tinkering
so
around. Yeah.
so that actually you can incur some pretty heavy fines for that. So we try to be a little again, like I said, we're trying to be responsible about this. I would rather that, and I tell our customers this, I'm upfront about it. I'd rather that we're kind of a little more behind on certain things than moving a little too fast
Mm.
on things like that, right? And especially this is a regulated industry, right? There is more scrutiny on property
Well,
managers.
and if anyone's like, I'm gonna, come on, I'm just gonna vibe code this. I think listen to this first, and I think from the technical like execution side, and then legal compliance side, this is probably one where it's find the company, and I'm not, super sounds awesome. I'm sure there's other companies that are in this category. It's like it seems very clear that this is one of those non-vibe codable problems.
Yeah, guardrails are really hard to build actually, and you kind of it's almost like a legal document. You look at a contract and you're like, there's a reason that clause is
Yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah,
right? And it's like only because something has happened. And right, so you need reps to be able to understand and we're lucky to be able to be doing this at such a scale now that we can very clearly not only predict what some of that is, but
right,
we can also try to make sure that we're actively testing
yeah.
against that. So there are things that we've built into our core agent as far as guardrails. Like we don't allow it to repeat certain words. Like if somebody says I have black mold, it's not going to be like thanks for telling me about your
Yep.
black mold. We literally had somebody come up to us and
Yeah.
is like, let me write that down. I'm going to tell my team. Thanks for telling me about the issue.
Yeah, we had a sit the first job I was at out of school was like a venture back tech company. I was in a sales role. I started as a BDR. There's a guy on the team that he always did that. And he was really good. Like he had great numbers, but he when the customer shared pain, you're like discovery, find pain, and then you're like trying to solve for it. He would always say, "That's awesome." It's like because he was excited because he found the pain. He's like, "Oh,
He's-
that's awesome." Like, here's how we can. It's like, "Oh, that black mold's not awesome." So,
yeah,
yeah, you gotta put those guardrails in.
yeah.
Well, very cool. So, lightning round. Are you ready for anything else you want
Am
to
I
talk
ready?
through we didn't discuss? Is there anything else top of mind for
No,
you?
I mean, maybe one quick thought
Yeah.
just on the vibe coding component of this. Like, I will say I'm also one of those people. I'm a big proponent of non-technical people using the tools to the
Yep.
max, right? So I think that's super, super exciting. Um, there's a reason that, again, I think what is defensible for us as technology vendors is pick the hardest problems
Yeah,
to
that's
solve.
right.
And so, like, it's a matter of ROI for operators, right?
That's right.
Is this worth my time to do all of this training and
Well,
setting up
I
these
end up
guardrails?
like, so I feel like my position has sort of kind of become this role of, we say like, hey, we want to help elevate the industry. We're trying to take this objective approach based on data. Data ends up naturally powering sort of some of this context in this, AI world we live in now. But I feel like sometimes I'm like the vibe code hater, but I vibe code all the time. It's just like you said, it's some things should be vibe coded. It's going to kind of drive innovation. Honestly, if you ever got some custom process or something, make it. But if it's like the really hard problems where there's like fair housing laws and there's really technical challenges, don't spend $15,000 of credits and the maintenance. I've heard some people talk about how they're like, I've got like these 7 systems running and it's going so well. So I'm hiring a CTO and it's going to be like overseas CTO for $7,000. And it's like, oh, do they have property management experience? And also, if you add up the costs, the things you replaced, it's like 7,000 is
Same,
more than what
same.
you were paying for the, yeah, same. Yeah. So, it's a weird time, crazy time. But yeah, I think the vibe coding perspective it's just a needle thread.
It's just, where do you need leverage, right?
Yeah.
And where is it best for you to build that competency yourself, and where is it best for you to just say, this company is thinking about this all day long,
Yep.
have at it.
That's right. All right. So lightning round.
Mhm.
First question. Which tool or app would you recommend that's not like your favorite tool or app that's not work related?
Oh, man, this is gonna be a stupid answer, I think, but I love Google Photos.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
For personal, like, I actually use it so it's like I take screenshots, I take photos of things, and then I organize them, and I
Yeah.
have them,
Yeah.
like, auto tag into folders, and it's such
Yeah.
an
Very
easy
cool.
way to just remember what's
And the
going on.
keyword and it comes up.
So easy to search,
Did you
and
ever watch the show Silicon Valley?
parts of it, it was a little too real for me at times.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, "I've lived through that meeting." This.
The character Jin Yang, he develops the app, hot dog or not hot. It ends up being, it's supposed to be like a food. You take a photo of food and it would tell you what the food is and everything about it. But he could only develop to be hot dog or not hot dog. So it's like there's a whole thing about the tagging and now that's like easy. Google's just put it in your
There, you can do it,
pocket.
yeah,
Yeah, very
yeah.
cool. I love that. All right, so book or podcast that you'd recommend that maybe a operator in the space would really get some value from.
I really like the Founders podcast.
Yeah, second time I've heard that. All
Oh,
right.
yeah, okay. I mean, first off, I don't often have enough time to read a whole book, so I'm not
Mm-hmm.
reading the whole biography or something. And so it's usually an hour long, and
Yeah.
it's the top things you need to know about how this founder operates, and that is gold.
Yeah, I love that. We'll talk more
Mhm.
offline about that, like favorite episodes and stuff. But all right, so this one's a little bit more, got a little more weight to it, I guess. But what is one single word you'd use to describe the future of the AI agent category? So we'll just say that's your category, more broad, in the property management space. One word,
Renaissance.
renaissance. That's a good word. You can elaborate or not elaborate. Your choice.
Well, I think that the whole premise of technology has been to take the grunt work from us so that we can be unleashed to do the things that humans do best. I
Mm-hmm.
actually think we may be there. I don't think any of the past iterations of technology, iPhone, right? Like, Slack, any of that have actually helped us. It's actually only tethered us
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
This is actually a moment where you can be as creative as you want. So I think
Yeah.
it's unleashing
A
that
renaissance. Yeah,
capability.
that's really good. Yeah, it's starting to unlock more human creativity to
Mhm.
do things they couldn't do before. That's very cool. Well, how would someone reach you or Super if they're interested, found this compelling? How do they
Yeah.
reach out?
Our website is hiresuper.com. So HIRESUPER.com. And my email is just Lindsay at LINDSAY at hiresuper.com.
Awesome. So not hiresupper.com, 1P hiresuper.com. That's
Correct.
great. Well, this has been fun. I'm sure it'll be one of many conversations we have as the industry sort of goes into this AI agent future, and really thankful for your impact and pushing some of these things forward.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Fun.